You ready?
Born ready.
You move your head.
Right, go.
Hello and welcome back to the much anticipated, much requested return of Sam to the channel.
There I am.
We're back in the studio.
We're back in the studio.
And today we are recording, well, 4 videos, but 2 bands. And we're starting with Slowdive. So we did Depeche Mode and Roxy Music. I think it's fair to say the double bill we're doing today is a bit more tuned to us.
Yes.
I think Depeche Mode and Roxy Music were a bit more sort of mainstream. Slowdive was my pick. Crowded House was your pick. I'm very familiar with Slowdive. You are
Very familiar with Crowded House.
Yes, but we both need one album from each, which is the same as Roxy Music and Depeche Mode,
Yeah.
funnily enough.
Look at us go. We just need to keep going with that pattern forever.
We're going to break it. Slowdive, I guess I'll talk about my experience with the band before, and I'll ask you about yours. They have 4 albums. They were based in Reading, Berkshire, which is where we both go to university, which is quite a cool little personal note.
Don't track us down.
They were pioneers of the shoegaze movement, along with bands like Ride and My Bloody Valentine in the early 90s. And they are still about and kicking. They just announced a few shows around the country, appearing at some festivals. So, yeah, I'm excited to do this because I Slowdive are one of my all-time favourite bands. So, yeah, I'm excited to do this.
Yeah.
You knew just for a day.
Yeah. Well, you introduced Slowdive to me in the first place, and you gave me a couple of songs that I really did enjoy and introduced me to the shoegaze genre. So that was very exciting. And then I'd listened to just for a day in full.
Which we've got here.
There it is.
Show up.
In vinyl, which is very fun.
Yeah.
I'm very jealous of you.
On flame print, limited edition, by the way.
And so I would use this album as a means of working. So I'd have it on in the background and I'd use it to work to, and it provided me with a very good focus. So I was very excited to get on with this deep dive and explore a bit more about the band.
Yeah. So since yours is the mystery, I'll go first. And then we'll do the opposite for Crowded House.
All right.
Yeah. My number 4 is going to be Pygmalion, which I guess will also be Sam's number 4. Definitely their most experimental album. It's quite sparse, very slow build. It's quite a departure in sound from the first 2. Although none of their albums really sound the same that much. They have the distinct Slowdive feel. Kind of like Depeche Mode we were talking about, you know. There's quite an interesting background to this album. It was released in 1995. They kind of got screwed by their record label because that was when Britpop was becoming a thing.
Oh, right.
Shoegaze was kind of a thing of the past. So they weren't a cool band anymore. They kind of got screwed over and the album got mispromoted, and I think this might have been a bit of a fuck you to the label by making such a strange album.
Self-sabotage.
However, I do still think it's a good album. I'd give it a 7 out of 10.
A 7 out of 10?
Yeah,
Wow.
that's the lowest I go for Slowdive. I think production-wise, it sounds great. The guitars sound amazing on this. Some really great synth work as well. Reminded me a lot in parts of Talk Talk, their Spirit of Eden and Laughingstock albums.
Really?
It gave me that kind of vibe. It can get a bit repetitive and it can feel a bit aimless. It's too long. Probably cut a couple songs short. But I do love the song Blue Sky and Clear. That's definitely the highlight for me. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, I'm sorry that I haven't been more of a surprise, because Pygmalion is also last for me.
Yeah, makes sense.
I've only given it a 6.
Okay.
Simply because I didn't really like it.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed getting into shoegaze, but for me...
It's not really a shoegaze album.
No, that's the problem.
Yeah.
And after listening to the first 2 albums and going into this one, I was a little bit surprised, but not in a good way.
Yeah.
And I did contemplate giving it a 5, but I didn't think it was as bad as some of the albums that we've given 5s to. So I decided on a 6 just based on that.
Yeah, fair enough. So that comes to my number 3. My number 3 is going to be the Self-Titled from 2017. Their reunion album, 22 years after Pygmalion, which is quite a long time. Again, sounds really great. I think all of their albums are really masterfully made. You know, their playing is great. They knew exactly what they wanted to do, which I can commend. You know, it never feels like any of these albums feel muddled in their sound. It's almost like they come back like they've never been gone. They're sort of adjusting for the times. It feels a bit more of a modern feel whilst also having the Slowdive feel. Some really great songs on here. Slow Mo is amazing. Sugar for the Pill, Star Roving, Everyone Knows. Just some really great stuff. The last couple songs kind of drag it down for me. Falling Ashes, this won't affect you, but for me it's just a complete rip-off of Radiohead's song Daydreaming. It's the same chords, it's the same piano bit, and it really is distracting for me. The rest of the album is really great. And yeah, although it's not quite at the highs of their earlier work for me, it is a really great comeback album. So 8 out of 10 for Slowdive.
I totally agree with that. And that's why it's my number 3 as well.
Oh! I feel like
I equally gave it an 8.
We're going to be like the Backstreet Boys right now.
Yeah.
We're going to be in sync.
Hey! Oh, cut that out. So yeah, I thought it was a really good comeback after being away for so long. I really do think they captured the essence of what made them good. And I really enjoyed Slow Mo as well. I also enjoyed No Longer Making Time. Those are the two standout ones for me. Yeah, that's all I've got to say really that you didn't say.
Interesting. I thought you might. Okay, so my number 2 is going to be Souvlaki, which I thought you would like Slowdive more than Souvlaki, which is interesting. But we'll get to that. Souvlaki is a legendary album, and I think me putting it at number 2, if anything, is going to be a surprise, because it is the one that people go on about the most. It's their most famous album, and rightly so, to be honest. As much as it's not my favourite, it is fantastic. It's got this loud sound that wasn't... It's sort of like the contrast to the debut, which is a bit more quiet and mellow. This one's loud, but it's also still dreamy. It's, again, a staple of the shoegaze genre. I will say it was... as you all know, my number 1 is going to be Just for a Day, which is the debut. Which is going to be, it was a tough act to follow for me from the debut, because that was the first one I heard, and I adored it. But it's got this like cool atmosphere. The songs are really good throughout. There's like a good consistency in the track listing. Brian Eno actually features on this album on the song Sing. He contributes a little bit, which is a crossover from Roxy Music.
Look at that synergy.
But When the Sun Hits is great. Allison, Dagger, Altogether, Souvlaki Space Station. Just some great stuff on here. Here She Comes is a great one as well.
How much do you give it?
I give it a 9.
Give it a 9?
It is one of my favourite albums of the 90s.
Wow.
But still not my favourite Slowdive album. No. So, yeah. Souvlaki is my number 2. I love it so much. And I can't stress that enough.
Yeah. Souvlaki's also number 2
for me. There we go.
And it's also got a 9.
Oh!
I was actually really pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoyed Souvlaki. Yeah, Allison is a great opener. I did enjoy Dagger as well. What was the one? Machine Gun. I really enjoyed that. And there was one more. What have I got on my notes? When the Sun Hits.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
That's a good sign. It also got a 9 for me.
It is. Yeah, it's just got such a great mood, that album. It's like. It's just... I can see why everyone loves it so much.
Yeah, I totally get it.
Even though we can reveal now, we already have revealed, we have the same number 1, which isn't the traditional number 1, and it is Just for a Day.
Look how quirky we are.
Yeah, we're so cool here. So this is actually one of my top 10 albums of all time. I think it's perfect from start to finish. The fact that they came out of the gate with their first album, and the thing, you can come out of the gate with your first album, and what people say is, you've been holding on to these songs forever, and you can pick out of all these songs that you've written. So it's not the songwriting, it's more the sound. For an album to sound this good as a debut album is so rare.
It's got such a strong vibe to it.
Yeah, and it's pure melancholy bliss. One of my favourite drum sounds. The drums sound amazing on this. It's like they're echoing throughout the whole... When you're listening to it, it's like they're echoing off into space when they're playing. Every song shines on its own merit. I could just list the whole track list, but Celia's Dream is the one that really stands out for me. It's one of my favourite songs of all time. Also Waves, Spanish Air. I could go on and on and on.
Yeah, just read it out the back and then go with
So,
it.
is there anything else you want to add?
Well, I feel like you really have summed it up. I absolutely love Rachel Goswell's vocals on this.
Yeah.
I think that the instrumentation is so strong.
Neil's a great singer as well.
He is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, not to diminish that at all. I really love Waves. I love Celia's Dream. I like Spanish Air. I really like Ballad for Sister Sue. Again, I could also go on because I've probably heard this album in full more than I've heard any album in full ever.
Wow, that's quite a testament to it. I may as well flex this now because I have got it on this limited edition vinyl. It's sort of like, I don't know how well you can see that, but it's like a flame print.
It's fire.
Vinyl. Yeah, it's very hot. I'm really struggling to hold it.
I know. Look, he's doing it for the VC. He's getting rid of his fingerprints.
Well, there we go. It's the vinyl community after all, so I have to.
You gotta flex the vinyl. How much did you give that?
A 10.
So did I.
Oh wow, we are so in sync today.
My God.
We'll see if that lasts.
Yeah, this may be the only time that we do this.
Because we've matched up. I think it being 4 albums is quite.
Yeah, it makes it more statistically likely that.
And we were both quite biased towards Just for a Day as well.
Yeah, we went into this knowing how much we both loved this album.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you give it 10 because I was not sure if you were ever going to give it 10.
I know, but the thing is that I've listened to this album so many times, and it's so rare that I skip a track. I've got to acknowledge that it's.
Well, it's only 9 songs.
Yeah,
so
it's just solid.
It doesn't waste your time.
It's probably the closest to perfection that I would ever get, so it definitely deserves a 10 on the ranking.
So, yeah, it's definitely my favourite album we've covered so far. So
it's a brilliant album.
Yeah. Yeah, any closing thoughts? So I'm surprised. I actually was worried that you weren't going to like the rest of the stuff as much. Well, you didn't like it as much as Just for a Day, but you still liked it.
I did. I think that they did remain pretty consistent. Even Pygmalion is still quite akin to their sound. It's interesting. It is, yeah. Not as close to the sound as I have liked, but I think because they haven't made that much compared to the other artists that we've seen.
Yeah.
They have been more consistent, and I mean I haven't listened to much shoegaze.
Yeah.
But with Just for a Day being my introduction not only to Slowdive but to a whole genre.
Yeah. What
a way to come at the gate.
Well, maybe one day we'll do something like Ride or My Bloody Valentine or something like that. It might be an interesting to explore.
Yeah.
Because I'm sort of my main shoegaze point is Slowdive. I do know My Bloody Valentine as well, but not as well. But I think that'd be very interesting to explore one day down the road. So I think it's a genre that's kind of underrepresented on the VC. And yeah, I think Just for a Day is quite accessible. So Souvlaki and Slowdive. All 3 of those albums are very dreamy, very easy to listen to. No sort of ragged edges, except the occasional bit of distortion on Souvlaki, but it works for the vibe of the album.
And with Just for a Day being something that has been very important to me, as something that's really got me through my degree, especially in the last year, I think I'll be forever in debt to that album as being a means of being able to focus my mind from other distractions and really just get in the zone, being in my head.
Yeah, and it is great because it's sort of this like music that you can either get lost in it and let it wash over you in this beautiful mood, or you can focus in on any individual instrument and it's all played to perfection.
Yeah. And then being a Reading band as well.
Oh, yeah.
Really does put it in the good books for me.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, thank you for watching. It was just a love fest, really.
Yeah. And us syncing up completely and just agreeing.
I think you won't see that very often on here. So me and Sam do have quite different tastes. This is the first one you're watching.
The fact that we really, you're not just going
to watch the Depeche Mode video and see how different our tastes are there.
But no, I think we'll see a bit more difference in ranking the songs. So
I would hope so. Yeah.
Check that out as well.
Yeah, that'll be out a few days after the album ranking, and also Crowded House to come. Mm-hmm. We haven't really got an order yet, but we know we are definitely covering Talk, Genesis, and the Beatles. And Sam has never heard a Beatles album in full.
No.
Which is going to be gigantic.
Have mercy on me, vinyl community.
So that's a story for another day, though. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that if anyone who's watching has not checked out Slowdive, that you do, because it's well worth it.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's even if you've never heard of shoegaze and this is your first step into it, I think it's a very, very good step to make.
Well, I've been Tom.
and I will forever be Sam.
And we'll cease it.